Hi, everyone. I'm meteorologist Joe Chaffee. As we take a look at what's going on this afternoon, models apparently are underperforming reality, especially across the Midwest, where we've got winter weather advisories, which is not a big surprise. That includes Chicago, but even some winter storm warnings. There have been some 6 and 7 inch snowfalls already in parts of northwestern Illinois and in southeastern Iowa. So looks like the NAM is doing a pretty good job of things. And we'll show you what's forecast here. And, it's pretty much coming into line, forecasting 4-inch amounts around Chicago, Milwaukee, and up to Madison. And you can see 2 to 3 inches across much of Michigan and northwestern Indiana. Then, as we move into the Northeast for the early morning hours on Monday, we're going to see pretty much a 1 to 2 inch snowfall here across northern New Jersey. I'll get a little closer. I have to go the other way. Okay, there we go. So this is for Monday morning, figure between midnight and 8 a.m. for the bulk of it. But it's a general 1 to 2 inch snowfall. Nothing is forecast around the New York City area or around the Philadelphia area per se. I'm sure there will probably be some wet snow in the mix. I think there'll be a few pockets on Long Island that'll get a little wet snow out of this. This is not a big deal, okay? Every time there are people that kind of reflexively react to the word snow and automatically assume that everything winds up to its natural apocalyptic conclusion, and that is not going to be the case with this first shot of snow. I just want to show you what the NAM was showing for late this afternoon. And I'm going to, let me just pull the radar up here. So let's go to, let's get the radar, because I want to show you how it matches up. And we'll get the national radar. We'll get the gigantic loop. That's a pretty solid area of snow that's up through the Midwest. You can see it here. I mean, that's a fairly impressive area here. I think the models did not do a particularly good job with all this, but it's just about solid snow everywhere in through northern Illinois, northwestern Indiana, and on up into southeastern Wisconsin, and now moving into Michigan. So Chicago's seeing their first accumulating snow, I believe, of the winter. So when it gets to the Northeast, the area is going to be weaker, and that's why it's only going for this inch or two. I guess I want to just be careful that the models don't wind up underperforming again. In other words, reality winds up outperforming what the models show. Now, this is the Weather Service's forecast. So you can see it's a general area, large area of under an inch across Long Island, showing nothing around New York City and then Newark. So I guess they're figuring the warmer urban areas are just not going to be able to do anything with that. And then we go north and west of there and north and east of there, and we're talking generally amounts under an inch, but there will be a band of 1 to 2 inches across parts of the Hudson Valley, particularly where there's some elevation. I think you could even include that for northwest New Jersey, in my view, also into Connecticut, either just along and north of Route 84, mostly. Amounts will drop off as you get further south toward Route 15 and for 95. And as we look at Philadelphia's forecast, you can see they're going for that 1 to 2 inches in Sussex County and northwest New Jersey, 1 to 2 inches. Again, this is from the first shot for northeastern Pennsylvania, and generally less than an inch everywhere else. So, we'll see how this all plays out. But I want to go to the NAM model here. This is from late this morning, and you can see that area over the Midwest holds together pretty well. But now we start to get this area that develops in the Northeast. Now, I just want to caution that a lot of what's shown up at the very beginning is probably aloft or just overdone. But you can see the darker blue shadings on the NAM model get into northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, and also over western Connecticut and in the Hudson Valley. So, there might be a couple of those spots that wind up with a little bit more. Then we get a break, and here comes the next low for Tuesday. Now, one of the things that has struck me, and I'm not sure why the model is doing this, but if we look at the cold air that's aloft for tomorrow. I just found this pretty interesting that what happens is, at least tonight into tomorrow morning, when we look at the layers at layer at 5,000 feet, which is a layer that 850 millibars, which is where we do often look to see how cold it is. It translates to snow at the surface, and the where the edge of this light blue is, that's where the 0 line or the 32-degree line is. So basically, everybody in our area, in New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, southeastern New York, Long Island, showing temperatures at that level below freezing, which would support snow. And then it kind of warms up a little bit into Tuesday, but then for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why it does this, but during Tuesday afternoon, when precipitation arrives, there's a bit of a cold pocket that develops over this general area. And I think that could be the reason why the NAM model kind of goes, I guess, a little bit berserk with snowfall amounts in that area, because it really blossoms out cumulative snows over the 2 days of 4 to 6 inches. So let's subtract out the 1 to 2 from the beginning. So we're talking, at least 2 to 4, 3 to 5 from the second shot on Tuesday in some areas in northwesternmost New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, and through southeastern New York and the Hudson Valley, and into the northwestern part of Connecticut. When we look at the surface map at that point, you'll see it here. And, it really gets into this dark blue shading of heavier precip. If I can get the darn thing to move. There we go. But right in there, it just, when that cold pocket appears late in the afternoon on Tuesday, it suddenly generates all this, heavier snow that it carries up, and then gradually this weather system kind of winds down. Still has some leftover rain or showers along the coast on Wednesday. Pretty chilly. And now we've got the polar front approaching with another low wave that's going to develop on that, probably for some time on Thursday into Thursday night before the very cold air arrives. Now I want to take a look at the pattern, look at the European, and we'll go with the upper air. So we can take a look at what the pattern is for the longer term, because we're definitely going into this cold period beginning in about 4 days, and then lasting pretty much through at least the 10-day period. But what's happening is that the vortex is strengthening in Canada, the polar vortex at 18,000 feet. You can see it's pretty well developed here, and this is at day 10. So this is all cold air that's developing in Canada and then comes into the United States. You still have this broad Pacific jet with probably weak systems moving along it. There's a ridge here off the west coast. You've got a ridge out in the Atlantic that extends up to Greenland, so that kind of locks the vortex up in between, at least for the time being. If we look at the GFS model, so we can go out a little further, and I'll put that up. You can see actually the GFS and the European match up. They're not identical, but they match up fairly well. The vortex right in through here. You can see it there. There's systems rotating along it. You've got the GFS has a stronger upper ridge building up into Alaska. So there's a little bit of cross-polar flow here, where the air is coming from Siberia across the pole and into northwestern Canada. Certainly, the temperature profile across Canada has changed so much over the last couple of weeks, so that by the time we get to the middle part of this week and beyond, so that's when the cold air first arrives, and you can see all of Canada now virtually below normal. Then a little bit of a warm up in the east, but then a more below normal temperatures spreading out across Canada. Right through the long range period. It gets a little warmer in Western Canada toward the end, but the models, and of course this means that you have to exercise a certain amount of caution when you see something like this, because it's so long term. But this is a very cold flow into the eastern part of the United States, if this is correct, and that's a big if. Okay, you got a big ridge building up in the west, you got a deep trough here in the east. But there are going to be model shifts from run to run. A couple of things I want to touch upon just real fast. and I'll just put myself there right over the cold. I'll put myself over the polar vortex. Okay. A couple of things I want to touch upon. One is the fact that, people started asking me because the models yesterday were showing some sort of snowstorm for, in the 7 to 10 day period. It's almost a waste of energy other than to just look at it and say, okay, well, let's see what the next run has it. But to start really over focusing on it makes no sense because there's so much going on in the atmosphere. Things are changing, going to change around, and they may eventually change back to what the original solution is. So I'm going to stay on the short term until we get rid of these two weather systems, and then we'll start looking at the longer term. When there's a little more time. So in the meantime, let's see how it plays out for the rest of today. Meteorologist JoeChaffee.com, weatherlongisland.com. And if you'd like, my local forecasts are on my app. The link is going to come up there on the screen. You can click on that, and you get local forecasts for New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Long Island, Hudson Valley, Eastern Pennsylvania. And, there's one section actually for northern New Jersey and the other section for central and southern New Jersey. So check it out. It's only 99 cents a month, and it helps me out it helps me out bringing you the latest weather information. Have a great day.